He's sent us some more messages, so.
If you had a giant 1 mile long spirit level,
imagine LIGO, right? It's 2 miles, isn't it?
Yeah, if you were to put a bubble level on like the intersection of LIGO, that would be level. If you were to walk down the arm and place it on top of that, I would say it would not be level. That would be another good
So
test.
you say at the split point, that's where it's level. On both arms?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where they leveled it.
And what are the arms? What are the arms? If the center is level, how do you envision?
No, he said no, not the center. The apex where they both meet.
Oh, the apex.
Yeah,
sorry.
it's different.
So
It's changed.
how do you envision the end of the arms then? The other two ends?
They're just gonna go straight, and this is in the engineering.
The end of the arms. At the end, you have the apex, and you have two arms running along, right?
Yeah.
How are they? Are they in the same level as the apex, or how do you envision them? Higher, lower?
So at the ends of the arm, they had to pour more concrete because it was at a higher elevation.
It's not what I asked you. It's not what I asked you. When the job was done, you have your apex, it's level.
Mm-hmm.
Either arm, how are they in relation to the apex?
They're flat.
Are they
They're straight. They're straight.
Yeah.
Are they also
Straight
level?
No, they are. They at each spot they are not level. They like if you put a bubble level on the apex and you started moving down the arm, it would get off and more off level.
How? Towards the up or towards the down?
With the bubble level, it would either go left or right.
No, hold on a second. You have a level at the apex, and you have two arms running. And I'm asking, you say they're not level at the ends. So I'm asking you, are they lower than the apex or higher than the apex?
They have a higher elevation than the apex.
So they're higher than, wow.
No,
So
not
the
high.
horizontal raises in elevation for you.
No.
No, you said it would be higher.
Hold on. The horizontal plane that was established at the apex will diverge from the surface of the Earth. The horizontal plane stays straight, but the level of water starts diverging from the straightness.
What? How do you envision that? You envision level water diverging from straightness?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
How is that possible?
Because level is a curve. And water is level.
That's my model dictates, right?
No,
yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
reality. But as I was saying, like, if we go back to the straight line test, you would be able to see which one's true. If water is curved, then there will be an angle. If level water is curved, there will be an angle between B, A, and C. If water level is straight, then all of them will be collinear. It's a test.
I don't think there's any possibility of reaching you, bro. I just don't think so.
If we do the test, that would reach me.
At what point is vertical not perpendicular to horizontal?
It always is. Every vertical is perpendicular to its horizontal.
To its horizontal. And
yes.
What is a horizontal?
It's 90 degrees from its vertical, and vertical is defined from the plumb bob. I wonder if I could do it, because over a short distance, you might be able to use the Autolite app and a water level.
You don't understand.
I mean, he obviously doesn't understand what level
You
is.
don't understand.
You don't understand. Hold on.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
I can guarantee you there will be a hump in the middle. If you side across from one side to the other,
Just take my word for it, bro.
no, don't take my word for it. Do it. I can guarantee you there will be a hump in the middle. There will be.
I can guarantee
there will be a hump in the middle. There will be.
There will be.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you there will be a hump in the middle.
Go and speak to anyone. Go up to someone that you know and just say, "Here, mate, is level horizontal?"
Yeah.
See what he said.
Horizontal, of course, levels horizontal.
Well, there you go then.
With level, especially when you do it on a small scale. Okay, if you're talking about the water level, the horizontal plane that a water level establishes is in the middle of the water level.
You would have to understand what a line is.
You don't understand.
I mean, he obviously doesn't understand what level means.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn.
Hold on.
Just on your own.
begging for your model to be
You
real.
would have to understand what a line is. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Straight line.
So logically, it follows then that all perpendiculars to that line
You don't understand.
are parallel to each other.
Yes, I agree.
It also then follows that that line cannot be a curved line or change angle anywhere along the line.
That line, yes. So this straight line we are using cannot bend because it's straight. I agree. That line, yes. So this straight line we are using cannot bend because it's straight. I agree. This straight line we are using cannot bend because it's straight. I agree.
You don't understand.
I mean, he obviously doesn't understand what level means.
You don't understand.
You would have to understand what a line
It's
is.
not my problem if you don't want to learn.
You don't understand.
Just on your own.
You might be able to use the Autolite map and a water level.
No reason, no logic, no wisdom, no worries.
You don't understand.
You're just on your own.
Begging for your model to be
No
real.
reason, no logic, no answers to questions.
You don't understand.
You're just on your own.
Begging for your model to be real.
You know what we call a vertical change? You know when we measure a vertical change?
Yeah, it's an elevation change.
A vertical measurement in the vertical.
Because it's a good approximation of the short distance.
So you're saying that horizontal being straight would get a measurement from the... Oh, wait a minute. You use a tool called a level that establishes a horizontal, and then from that horizontal you measure a vertical change, don't you?
I'm saying that the...
You do though, don't you? Right? Do you understand that, right? You use a tool called a level that establishes a horizontal, and you measure a vertical change from that horizontal. And what do we call that vertical change again?
elevation change.
There you
That's
go.
not what I'm
A
saying.
reference to the horizontal, obviously.
But I'm in reality, like this is why I'm thinking of actually doing this test. In reality, specifically say that horizontal is actually not a plane. Your misunderstanding of my model is not my problem. It's up to you to understand
You
it.
don't understand.
You don't understand. Hold on.
You don't understand.
I mean, he obviously doesn't understand what level means.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
I have no problem with you all using a water level to establish a horizontal plane. It will be tangent to the curve of the earth. They would maintain the same elevation. But remember, levels occur. So then is a vertical angle just a right angle? Grab a water level, that same water level test, and sight across it. That's it. Anything that is 90 degrees from that plane will be parallel to the vertical that you established at that point. Whenever y'all ask me about surveying, I say, yeah, I'm not an expert. I defer to the experts.
I'm out. If you carry on, you carry on. But I don't think it's. I mean, he obviously doesn't understand what level means. I mean, he obviously doesn't understand what level means.
You don't understand.
Hold on. You don't understand.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
We don't use proof in reality. That's pseudoscience. Or you can use it for math and logic. I don't claim to know anything about the Bang.
Have you ever held a water level?
Have you ever held a water level?
Have I held a water level, the tool? No, but it's a pretty simple concept.
Say they're even so bold over there, you guys. They believe horizontals are parallel.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of proof before? Like real
Proof doesn't exist in reality. It only exists in math and physics.
With your picture, then. Thank you.
No, I'm not trying to prove anything.
Hold on.
No,
I'm showing you evidence that the Earth is a
trying
globe.
to prove stuff.
No, I'm bringing evidence that the Earth is a globe.
Hold on.
Why would I try to prove something? That's pseudoscience. We don't use proof in reality. That's pseudoscience. That's pseudoscience.
You don't understand.
Hold on. You don't understand.
You don't understand.
I mean, he obviously doesn't understand what level means.
It's not my problem if you don't want to learn. You're just on your own.
My God.
22 years old. You're on the fucking internet talking to people about
No reason.
begging for your model to be
No
real.
wisdom. No worry.
It's bizarre.
You're just on your own.
Begging for your model to be
No
real.
reason. No logic. No answers to questions.
You don't understand.
You're just on your own.
Begging for your model to be real.
He thinks the zero pressure state in the water is an arc instead of a straight line.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at Tom. I'm laughing at the theoretical conversation. Hey, there's some people who think level is horizontal and they want you all to talk about. And also, yeah, parallel and vertical being 90 degrees from one another. And in math, typically when you establish a horizontal plane, in math, yeah, it's just one horizontal.
Typically.
Reality to describe something other than.
And we are live. Welcome everybody. It is Wednesday, hump day. But today's Trivium day. Don't want to bash them too much with the hump coming up to the holiday. It's the day before the holiday, so we'll go a little easy. We're going to go over a few fallacies. But before everybody switches off, this isn't going to be your usual fallacy thing. This is fallacies for the common man. Try and understand what it is and what they're about, how they get used, how to spot them, what the purpose of them are. Multifaceted fallacy. I read a little bit earlier. I've had a little bit of a read, so I'll do my best to interpret it, and I hope other people will join in with this. So, a fallacy is sort of a trick that can be played. More akin to if you know that you are not that good at mathematics, and somebody claims that they are good at mathematics, and they can do all sorts of fancy equations, then they could literally tell you anything within the equation formula, and you wouldn't be able to falsify them. So, fallacy is sort of that idea, that concept, but with words. Now, it may seem a little bit strange that you can consider them like that together, whereas the mathematics and the words, but it's very simple. It's the same thing, really. the mathematical formula of numbers and pluses and minuses and divides and x's and y's and what, it doesn't matter, whatever. That formula is based upon a logical system. And logic is the word form of reasoning to put things in order for you to come to a conclusion. Now, maths is just the number form of that. So a fallacy is somebody tricking you with the use of words. Now, you can call it magic if you wanted to more akin to it. Somebody's just, they're fooling you. Like, people do it with trick of the hand, sleight of eye, all of that sort of stuff. Sleight of hand, trick of the eye. But they do it with words. Some people use ways of speaking really fast, putting loads of things in one sentence that you can't rebut altogether. And fallacies are just different ways of you using different means within a word form to fool people. Now, why would somebody want to do that? All sorts of reasons. For the use of fallacies, but you can get away with all sorts of things. In saying sentences, you can say a falsehood and make somebody believe it's a truth. You can pass on these falsehoods either knowingly or unknowingly. You can be given one of these falsehoods unknowingly and then repeat it to other people as a truth. And you wouldn't know. But the main defense against this is, like with the defense with the number thing, is to learn the mathematical procedures in order to overcome that. Maybe talk to somebody who is an honest mathematician that will tell you these things truthfully. But the best way to get around all of them is to learn logic for yourself. Not logic as a complicated thing, but logic as a method for you to be able to derive these falsehoods, because logic is the search for a truthful answer. To find, what you're actually trying to do within logic is root out all of the fallacies. There's constantly more and more fallacies being presented, and the idea of logic is to find these. So have been reading a few of them. Has anybody else got any sort of basic ideas of this? Because I have heard of a lot of people, they're put off with the Latin names and the idea of this fallacy, because they're it's a puzzle that you have to unwrap most of the time. And when these facts or fallacies are delivered, you're not really given the time to process it. And the only way you can get around it is to get a little bit of time. Either you speed your mind up with learning logic, or you get yourself a bit more time to work out what was just said. I mean, most of the time, people will, you'll hear something being said and it won't seem to register. There's something there that doesn't allow you to either understand it or comprehend it. And I would say that is this fallacy detector kicking off. A truth will always say always. You should know a truth. You should be able to see a truth. Whereas the fallacy doesn't sit right. And finding why it doesn't fit right is mainly why I'm here. Somebody said something that seemed really strange, so you have to root out an answer to work out what's going on. And I've been kept within this arena because of more and more and more of these strange occurrences that I couldn't work out for why. A lot of the things of the realizations I've come to have been with the aid of people telling me things that I just couldn't understand. I've since found out that lots of these things you can't understand. They're nonsense. You can't make any sense out of them because there's no sense there to start off with. Sense as in scientia, science. There's nothing knowledgeable you can gain from it except learning the fallacy behind why it didn't fit right. And then you can see these things. Blue's helped us out today. Blue Marble Science, that is the person, not the group, not the science of the Blue Marble, but the actual person, Blue Marble Science. He came in and helped us understand, helped me understand how Blue Marble sees scale, for instance. And actually, it might help if we go over an example of this. So we've got Betty to thank for this. We've got these two, I think. Are they different ones? Yes. Right. So this is our friend Betty, the proofless globe logician, and he is going over a logical statement that he thinks, or this is the way he lays out I don't know, whatever he does, right? So he says he starts off with 1 and then he brackets A. Maybe that means assumption in Betty's logical globe logic. So 1, level is horizontal. 2, if level is horizontal, then points of equal elevation on the Earth form a plane. 3, 1, 2. It's a combination of 1 and 2, I think. Points of equal elevation on the Earth form a plane. So he's making a statement. That's the check. And then 4, level being horizontal does not imply anything about the Earth. I don't know why he threw that one in.
I don't know also, but yes, but the statement is true, but I still don't know for which purpose it is given here.
Yeah, what you could say, right, is that in the step 3, you could say points of equal elevation form a plane. Right, that makes as much sense as points of equal elevation on the Earth form a plane.
This on the Earth is redundant.
Yes,
here.
It's just added in, and then that means that if you take that on the Earth out of 3, then 4 makes no sense.
Yes, it's not related.
It's like a non sequitur, really, because he's added in on the earth. So he can add that in and say it's not a non sequitur because he added on the earth in on step 3 where it wasn't needed.
Take it out of 2 as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know the purpose of that, but we have here 2 redundant additions on the earth in this sentence 3, and then we can just throw out whole 4th sentence because and I still don't know why he marked this A.
I think that's an assumption. I think he marks that A for an assumption.
Correct.
It's a strange logical writing method that he uses. A notation thing. I don't know.
But still, first sentence is also marked A. Level is horizontal. This would be assumption for something else because level being horizontal is proved.
Yeah.
So this is not like
it's like putting it's putting the conclusion before, isn't it? It's like, or is that what is to be proved? Is that what he's sort of saying? That, you know, he's saying this is what we are going to be proving, and then at the end you could we could get rid of 4 and put that back again, but get rid of the assumption. It's like what is proven. It's an assumption at the beginning, and then you do the if then you state that points of equal elevation do form a plane, as in we have checked that, and yes, therefore level is horizontal statement. QED. I would say. Would you not? To sort that out for him.
Yes, generally this is true what he wrote, but I have no idea why it is written and for what purpose and what it can prove, because these statements are even not self-evident, but still you can make separate statement from each of them. So I don't know why he connected that into 1, 2, 3, and 4 sentence, because I cannot see proof like syllogism here. Really.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's 4 to start off with, so it's not really a syllogism, right? 1 too many.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob.
Good afternoon.
Right, so Beddy, he asked the question, right, after we've sorted out the statement. He says, the propositions above consist of 3 assumptions. 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so he's saying that 3 is not an assumption. Let's just go over number 3. Points of equal elevation on the earth form a plane. That's the one that isn't an assumption in Beddy's logic, right? The other ones are assumptions, but that one isn't an assumption. And what are things that aren't assumptions? Facts. That's right. Proven facts.
The second sentence is conditional.
Axiomatic. Can you just provide the definition for a plane?
Length times breadth. But I mean, like, yeah, he's saying if 1, 2, and 4, Betty, if 1, 2, and 4 are assumptions, then 3 of them, number 3, is not an assumption. And if it's not an assumption, what is it? This is in Betty's logic. Have you got any answer for that, Betty, if you're listening? Can anybody, does anybody want to answer for Betty for what isn't an assumption?
It'd have to be a fact, wouldn't it? It would have to be.
Yeah, that's what I would say. In Betty's own logic, a non-assumption is something that is proven.
Albeit with the added words that aren't needed on the Earth.
Well, yeah, apart from the on the Earth part of it. But I mean, like he does say, I mean, on the Earth is on the ground, right? And that's where surveyors work. And surveyors are the guys that establish a plane of equal elevation. Call it a horizontal plane. They have tools called levels. Betty knows that. Okay, so number 3 is the one that's not. He says, are the 3 assumptions consistent with one another? Okay, let's have a look at the assumptions. Assumption 1, level is horizontal. If level is horizontal, this is the number 2. If level is horizontal, then points of equal elevation form a plane.
This is not assumption. This
level
is
horizontal.
Statement.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but he has put we're playing along with globe logician Betty at the minute, right? And then the other one is we're just seeing whether they're consistent with one another. And that one is if level is horizontal, then points of equal elevation form a plane. Horizontal is a plane. So level being horizontal would be the plane, which is consistent with the level is horizontal statement. And the last one, level being horizontal, does not imply anything about the Earth. Well, would that be level being horizontal doesn't imply anything about the Earth? Well, that would be consistent with level is horizontal. And if level is horizontal, then points of equal elevation form a plane. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about the Earth. You can use that reference frame to measure from to the Earth to anything really. But it doesn't really say anything about the Earth until you put a measuring rod there and measure the distance from the horizontal plane, the even altitude, down to the ground, the Earth that he's talking about. You measure the elevation of the Earth by referencing it to that horizontal plane, and you establish the elevation of the horizontal plane by referencing that horizontal plane to a benchmark, a datum point. So they're all consistent. And he says, are they consistent with one another? Yes.
Yes, but still, this is here is fallacy, affirming the consequent. Because in sentence 3, points of equal elevation on the Earth from a plane, it is affirming the consequent, and he should check condition. So if we have condition, so antecedent is level, this is antecedent. Then it is consequent, then points of equal elevation on the Earth form a plane. And he, in the third sentence, is using consequent as his check. And he shouldn't. This is fallacy, because if you in conditional statement, you are trying to find if the consequent is true or not. You have to check if points of equal elevation on Earth form a plane. You are doing that, but by checking premise or condition.
Yeah, he said
You have-
that's the one that isn't an assumption. He's checked it. He's not assuming
Yes, so-
that. He has actually checked it.
So, but still, third sentence is affirming the consequent fallacy, because he should write that level is horizontal, and we have this in first sentence. So what he is using as like pre-assumption here, this sentence level is horizontal, should be your check in modus ponens. But he is using this as assumption. So I don't know why he is doing that, but still it is, as he wrote it, it is affirming the consequent fallacy. Because in the third sentence should be that level is horizontal.
Should finish
So-
it off with therefore level is horizontal, number 1.
Yes, so this first sentence is redundant, because this is our check. We have condition: if level is horizontal, then points of equal elevation on Earth form a plane. I would say without this on Earth, but still, this condition implies that if antecedent is true, then consequent has to be true. So we have to check condition. We have to check if level is horizontal. Yes, we checked that level is horizontal, therefore consequent has to be true. But he is wrongly saying that points of equal elevation on Earth form a plane. It would be therefore level is horizontal. This is affirming the consequent fallacy.
Yeah, that's not what he's doing though, paper.
Yeah, I think what you're watching here is a globe logician, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what we know about the globe logician is axiom 1, instead of ending with the conclusion, that's what you start with.
Right. You always start.
You
with
always start with the conclusion, and that's what he's done here. He's shown his globe logician. This is how you spot a globe logician, as opposed to a forming a logical, coherent sentence. You don't start off with the conclusion. Paper's just said. Number 4, if you were to do it, it should be therefore number 1. And you should get rid of number 1 completely. Start off at number 2.
Yes, this would be like axiom, because in fact this is axiom.
Yeah.
Or like axiomatic. So his pre-assumptions, the geometrical pre-assumption, should be that points of equal elevation form a plane without this on Earth, because we are dealing with geometry. So this is true, self-evident statement from geometry only, without Earth. So that should be a pre-assumption, and the level is horizontal should be our check in modus ponens.
Can I pause just for a second, paper? And like when we talk about geometry, it's derived from the words of earth measurement. So you know what I mean?
Yes.
Literally.
So
yeah.
literally, it is earth measurement. So when we're talking about geometric principles, we should apply them to the earth.
No. Well, we
I know what I'm saying sounds tough, but
yeah. In order, we use the geometric plane, the horizontal plane, to measure the elevations of the land. But when we're talking here, like Betty is. He's talking about level and horizontal. Well, they don't have a relation to the Earth. You can use a perpendicular relationship to the land
I
to
agree.
measure it, right?
I just want.
yeah.
I just. Yeah, you know what I was trying to say.
There's
By the
a
way-
reason. Hang on, paper. There's a reason why Betty's using the words that he's using, and there's a specific reason why he's used on the Earth in 2, 3, and similarly, he still says the Earth in number 4. There's a reason why he's doing that. And there's a reason why number 4 is the way that he's crafted it instead of being a real syllogism, which is what you point out, paper. That if you started with 2 and you move to 3, one becomes the check or the one that drops below 3. That would be correct. Absolutely. That's not what he's trying to do here. And I'd like to hear what people think he's trying to do.
I will say, if you will, using these words on the Earth, he is assuming that we can have points of equal elevation on the surface of the Earth, which is impossible because it implies that the Earth is flat.
He's attempting to provide a disconnect, in my opinion.
Okay. Paper. Yep. I see where paper's going. I hear what you're saying, John. Absolutely.
Between level and horizontal and the Earth.
So let's read the last thing again. This is important to get, right? Because this is how you see the attempted wizardry. Right? Betty is a globe logician. He is a wizard, or he's attempting to be anyway. His question is, are the three assumptions that would be his number 1, his number 2, and his number 4 consistent with one another? Now, Bev's answered it for himself, but you guys need to think about it as well. Let me read the definition of consistent. Consistent, agreeing or accordant, compatible, not self-contradictory, constantly adhering to the same principles, holding firm together or cohering. That's consistent. So, is statement number 1, or he says assumption, number 1, number 2, and number 4, are they consistent with one another? That's what he's trying to find out. And then the second piece is getting you to take that next step of, if not, one of them is false. That's a statement. That's not a question. He could have said, if not, is one of them false? Which one? But he didn't. He made the claim. If not, one of them is false. Which one? So what do you think
Could
he's
they
doing
all
here?
not be false? Is he just allowing for one of them to be false? I mean,
well, that's his words.
Yeah.
I think that he is trying to create false dichotomy between this third sentence, points of equal elevation on Earth form a plane, and fourth sentence, level being horizontal does not imply anything about the Earth. So it would be a dichotomy because he's talking about plane on the Earth and level being horizontal, which has nothing to do with the Earth. That would be dichotomy because it means that points of equal elevation are something completely different than level being horizontal. That I think that's his goal.
But isn't horizontal defined by the Earth, the water on the Earth?
Yeah, well, those are two different things, John.
What do you mean?
Let me try. Hang on. Let me try it a different way. Let me try it. I think this is a good conversation. Let me try it a different way. Let me read it a different way. 1, assumption, level is horizontal. 2, assumption. If level is horizontal, then points of equal elevation on the land form a plane. 3, points of equal elevation on the land form a plane. 4, level being horizontal does not imply anything about the land. Now, what do you think?
I have no clue now.
Why?
Why?
Why
Because
don't you have a
the information doesn't correlate properly in my head. I mean, when I see the first one, I don't take that as an assumption because I know it's not an assumption.
Well, he's
So
claiming it as an assumption.
I know, but it's
Betty's
difficult
claim.
for me to put it in that category.
I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. But this is Betty's claim now. His claim is that one is an assumption. Level is horizontal is an assumption. His claim is if level is horizontal, then points of equal elevation on the land, that's my word, not his, form a plane. That's an assumption. What's not an assumption is points of equal elevation on the land form a plane. Again, land, my word. And then 4, level being horizontal does not imply anything about the land. My word. Now, if I'm using land, to me, it's completely redundant. It's not needed and it doesn't make sense.
No, that's true. Yeah, I agree.
Right? But somehow he uses the other word and no one seems to have an issue with it. And that's where Betty's going. It's about that word.
Yes, as I said, it is redundant. I can see that now more clearly because level that it doesn't make points of equal elevation being on Earth or on land. They are creating points of equal elevation on this level, on this horizontal, not on Earth.
Correct. And Bev, you correct me if I'm wrong, right? But a horizontal is not created on the ground. A horizontal doesn't exist on the ground. It's at some point above the ground. It's wherever, if there's an auto level, whatever. It's where that is where the horizontal is set. Correct?
Yeah, a tool level would be used above at an altitude, not elevation wise. You are using that is above the ground to measure the ground. There's no point of putting it on the ground. You can measure the points to the ground from that. But yes, so that is always above.
Now, say you're checking the elevation on, say, 2 miles of land. Would you set your horizontal above the highest point of land first? Is that where your horizontal would be set? Would it need to be set?
Not necessarily.
No,
just above the ground where you are standing. Just it. It doesn't matter if you have hill or mountain in front of you. It doesn't matter. You are making this horizontal above the ground you are standing on. So this is not plane made on Earth, as Betty implies.
Correct. So the question becomes, is Betty talking about what we've just determined here? That a horizontal is not set on the Earth. It is set at some point above the ground. Or is he talking about something else altogether? I don't know the answer to that question. I can suspect, I can guess that it has something altogether different to do with than what we just discussed. And if that's the case, then again, what is he trying to get at? He's saying, are the 3 assumptions consistent with one another? Well, Bev's answered that question for himself. 1, 2, and 4. Are they consistent? Anyone else want to chime in with their take? Is it consistent? Does anyone have a different view than Bev, that they're not consistent with one another? And if they're not, why?
They are consistent in falsehood. So you can say that they are consistent because in both.
1,
we
2, and
have-
4. 1, 2, and 4. He's saying level
In-
is horizontal.
In what so this is not assumption, but yes, this is a correct statement. There is no falsehood in this statement. But in second, we have falsehood. Then points of equal elevation on Earth. This is falsehood.
Okay. The fact that it says on the earth is what makes it a falsehood to you, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right.
And number 4, I still can't get past the point of where horizontal is established. So how can that not be anything about the earth? About the earth is the land, though, you're saying, right? Okay.
Yeah, you
So
you could take Rakia's example from the guys that he worked with. They said they call it watering the land. That is
Right.
making the land at all points of an equal elevation.
Right.
So that is it is possible to make the land at all points of an equal elevation on the land.
Correct.
That's how they sort for footings and buildings and all of that. I mean, that is an established thing that can be done. So that isn't a false statement that points of an equal elevation on the earth, because he's talking about little e, the ground, the dirt, right? Or points of an equal elevation on the earth form a plane. Well, if you call that a plane, equal elevation points of earth, of land, it would be a field, a ground, a stretch of ground, the earth.
But still, that would be another fallacy. If you state that way, it is non sequitur, because it doesn't follow from if level is horizontal, because a level being horizontal doesn't make points of equal elevation on Earth forming a plane.
Mm-hmm.
It is not non sequitur.
Could you say forming a horizontal plane and then bring the horizontal in? Because you haven't got either level or horizontal within the conclusion. If you were to add points of an equal elevation on the earth form a horizontal plane as a check, right? Because that can be checked and done. And that's the one that he says is not an assumption. So that's his check, that he's checked it. I mean, it's true. If you were to make points on the earth, the ground, of an equal elevation, then you would be forming a horizontal plane on
With
the
the
earth.
dirt.
Yeah.
With the dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could get it that way. Absolutely. So then if that's the case, what the hell is he talking about by number 4?
It's just that's
Well,
just a
first of all,
non sequitur. That it's just like an added
I'm with
thing
you.
in.
I'm with you, but I want to see if people are coming along with us. Like number 4 says level being horizontal does not imply anything about the earth.
Right. Well, I can give you a bit of a backstory to that particular statement.
Well, is that true?
Well, that's what I've said, right? That is a statement that I've said, because level is horizontal, has got nothing to do with the earth. Is a statement that I've made. Now, Beddy has made the rest of this thing to support his righteous claim that he thinks I'm wrong. So he's developed an entire argument to end up with me having to say that that's wrong, because he's made this argument and he's added in the on the earth statements. That's the reason for this. It's a clever trick from Beddy, but
yeah. So does everybody understand what Bev just said? You guys get it?
Yes, I did. And still, you can, as you said, that Rakia is watering the ground. So it would mean that he's leveling the ground.
Yeah.
So you can do that, but it doesn't, it is not necessary. So you can make that way, but this is not necessary to measure, for example, ground. For measuring ground, it is not necessary to watering the ground. Surveyors do that above the earth. So
Yes,
they
yes.
don't need to water the ground to make ground level, and then they are measuring ground.
Yeah.
Not only that, paper, but what number 4 is, this is what Bev has said, and I completely agree with it. I think most people would agree with it, at least most people here would say level being horizontal does not have anything to do with the earth, does not imply anything about the earth, doesn't say anything about the ground beneath your feet. Yeah?
Yes, in that meaning, yes, it does not imply anything. Yes, about
Clearly,
the earth itself.
People in the chat are confused about that as well on the YouTube. The earth, they're talking about the dirt. Who knows? They're not
Yeah.
talking about the big E. They're talking about the dirt below your feet.
Yeah,
well, you don't know,
puts
right?
little e.
He puts little
Little
e,
e,
so that I would take that as being the dirt, right? The land. But we don't know. Who knows? Betty could mean, his model. It could mean the thing that sits on his desk behind him, the globe, right? I don't know. All we can go by is what he has here. But that's not even the point necessarily. The point is which of the 3 assumptions, 1, 2, or 4, does Betty think is wrong? Because he's made the statement, right? If not, one of them is false. If they're not all 3 consistent, and I think most of us here probably think they're consistent, 1, 2, and 4. I do. I know Bev does. Right? If they are consistent with one, are they consistent with one another? Well, we say yes, so we don't even get to the next part of the sentence. But clearly, Betty has written the second part of that question, or that second question, so he thinks that they're not consistent. So if not, one of them is false. Which one? Which one do you think Betty thinks is false? 1, 2, or 4? It's got to be one of those 3.
He wants level. See, this is the difference, right? I've always said this. Level is horizontal. It's got nothing to do with the earth.
Yep.
But we do use a water level to establish a horizontal plane. Now, I'm one of these people that likes to have correct terms. And I separate earth from water.
Correct.
They're 2 completely separate things. One is a fluid, the other one is a solid, if that's what you want to call it. Like they're different entities entirely. And being a stickler for that sort of fact, because I always used to get pulled up with on little mistakes that you ever made on Twitter. So you have to be direct with your word usage. And yeah, like Paige is saying, if you add the horizon being horizontal, well, the true horizon, if you use for topographic horizon, you can see mountains and all of that. Well, that's not horizontal. The plane of the horizon, that would be, but that's got, again, nothing to do with the land. That's the plane that you're on. Then you've got horizontal and the level and the horizon. Well, the true horizon is the one that is horizontal. That's not earth. That's water. It's over water, over the sea. Who says if he's at sea, it's a circle? No, you don't take circles to sea with you. So, yeah, there's a difference between the water and the land. The earth. that you plant stuff in. You grow crops in the earth. So yeah, there's a difference. I don't have them as being the same. Whereas what Beddy's trying to do here is he's trying to equivocate level, earth, and horizontal, I think.
Anybody
Yes.
else want to take a shot? What Betty's doing here?
Yes, I said that before, that
Mhm.
he's trying to make a flat Earth. So, but still, there are even two fallacies in this second statement. This is non sequitur, as I said, because level being horizontal doesn't establish equal points of elevation on Earth. It doesn't mean that if you establish level, you establish equal elevation on the Earth. It doesn't follow. The second fallacy is, as I said, this is affirming the consequent in point 3. So for me, this is enough. Two fallacies, and it cannot prove anything.
And also, we have to point out the fact Paige has pointed out. This looks like Beddy attempting to be a flat earther.
Ah, thank you.
He's trying to do a really crap flat earth logic.
Thank you. Did everybody see that? Here, let me play it out. Let me be very clear. As clear as I can. All right. Betty's saying, are the three assumptions consistent with one another? 1, 2, and 4. This is what I suspect. Betty can respond to this video and prove and tell me if I'm wrong. He's going to say 4. Number 4 is not consistent with the other 2, 1, 2, and 4. Number 4 is not consistent. If not, one of them is false. Which one? Number 4 is false. Or number 1 is false. One of the two. Either number 1 is false or number 4 is false. If number 1 is false, victory. Victory for Betty. If number 4 is false, then Bev is a flat earther, because Bev says
lied.
Level being horizontal does not imply anything about the earth.
Yeah.
And level is horizontal means the earth is flat. That's my suspicion. That's what Betty's trying to do here. That's the wizardry he's trying to play. And it makes no logical sense, as Paper pointed out. It's confusing as shit, as John pointed out. And it's effing useless altogether, in my opinion. But that's a globe logician for you.
Thank you. I was just going to say what you just said. Thank you.
And by the way,
that's what I think anyway. That's my take.
In addition, I would say that you can establish by watering, as you said, equal elevation on Earth, but it is not necessity for this condition, for level being horizontal. So you can create that, but it is not necessary condition or necessary consequent. So it means that if he's saying in the second sentence that then points of equal elevation on the Earth form a plane, this is non sequitur in that sense that, yes, you can establish that on Earth, but it is not consequent of level being horizontal, because you can establish level being horizontal in the air.
Above
also.
it, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is, and if we are talking about antecedent and consequent, we want to find necessary consequent, what has to be inconsequent, not what may to be, has to be. And this is not necessary consequent. So that's why it doesn't hold, cannot hold as a proof of anything.
Nothing. Absolutely paper. It's complete and total nonsense.
And he's injecting this globe brand of fallacy logic, right? By doing really poor logic and pretending to his peers that it's something relating to some sort of logic. Because you can bet that Beddy's talking to his mates over there in Blue Ops. He's got to be, right? He can't just be doing this on his own, hoping that they're going to pick it up as some sort of paralogism. I mean, wait till you see the next one that he's got going. But I just point out, right, my answer at the bottom of this is that if you say points of the Earth are of an equal elevation, then you're predicating level of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
He could have just used the water just as easily.
Yep.
Right? The fact that he used Earth was just because he used Earth. He could have put anything there and said that points of equal elevation of a plywood sheet formed a plane. Points of equal elevation of anything would form a horizontal plane because that's what an equal elevation is.
Yes, equal elevation is a plane.
Yeah.
So itself.
Exactly. Right.
It's just that Beddy chose to inject the Earth in, and then he said at the end that level and horizontal has nothing to do with the Earth. Well, the only reason the Earth was there was because he added it in. If he'd have added in water,
Yep.
then the bit at the end would have made no sense.
Yeah, he wizarded
Yeah.
on the Earth there purposely.
Which is
yes.
a trick.
Yes, a trick, yes. So things that are possible to do, but they are not necessary, it makes it fallacious because, as we know from logic box, that possibility is not necessity. In logic, there are in opposite. Something that is possible is opposite to something that is necessary. So you cannot equivocate these two, and he is doing that.
Yeah, he's injected into an argument the very thing that he's trying to disprove, or I don't know. It's like it's a trick because I know. I mean, most people wouldn't know that I was the one that made the statement about level being horizontal doesn't mean anything about the Earth. That's a statement that I made because they kept saying that level being horizontal meant it was a flat Earth, and I said it's got nothing to do with the Earth.
But still, even if he would insist that about validation, because he's insisting that only formal logic counts, this true value is nothing for him. But still, even if we can give him that true value is not important here, he's still committing two formal fallacies here. So still, we can just reject these statements. This second statement is wrong. Just formal. This is formal fallacy. So even if it was true, this is formal fallacy and cannot prove anything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you guys on the Globe team, you've employed a really shit logician. In fact, I'd say he's a faux-gician. He's not even a magician. He's no good. Because that's what a magician is, right? There's a logician, the one that finds the truth. And then there's a magician, the guy that hides the truth. Beddy's more like exposing it for everyone. Hopefully. I mean, that's what we do here, hopefully. We bring what Beddy says and we point out the fallacies within the bullshit. And now don't forget, this is the important thing. Beddy is the claimed to be globe logician. He's the top. He's the pinnacle of this. And he seems to write fallacies in every statement he makes. He's their top guy. So either a fallacy is something that's okay with the globe guys, or they're all trusting a magician, a fogician, one that they're being fooled by. Because Beddy definitely isn't a real logician. He did say he was going to come in. I don't know which day he's going to come in on. But I'd say he's got a tough job of trying to convince us that he's not just trying to push fallacies, paralogisms on people. He's not even really attempting sophistry. He's attempting to rewrite logic. Seems like to me. He's like writing his own method to get around it. It's pretty false. And he wouldn't. I'll get the other. Right, so whether we need to get the wow. Now this one is Beddy. I don't know whether I should get the top part of this because it might be a bit more useful to okay. Is that the celestial navigation one? It ends with very simple. Yeah, right, here we go. This is the one he's just give us, the top part of it. So you can, I don't want him to say that I didn't read all of it for you. So he quotes, I don't know who made this statement, but somebody said, celestial navigation works. I don't know what sort of job it does, but like he's quoting somebody saying that. Don't know who. And then he said it means to each latitude and longitude coordinate, there corresponds a unique point on the surface of the Earth. Again, he's obsessed with it. Like, let him go with that. He says, no assumptions about radius are required. It's very simple. We calculate, brackets 1, the altitude of the sun at our local noon. The altitude. We went over that earlier today. It's like a vertical measurement. So we calculate the altitude of the sun at our local noon, and 2, brackets 2, the difference in time between local noon and Greenwich noon. That gives us 2 numbers. Correct? He's asking. 2 numbers. Which 2 numbers? The altitude, the calculated altitude of the sun, 1 number, and time difference, a time difference. So that'd be so many hours. And that gives us two numbers. They're the two numbers. One of them's, in fact, both of them are calculated. He's calculated two numbers. And to those two numbers, there corresponds a unique position on the Earth, the position that you are at when you calculate them, I think. To any point, east or west, there will be a different time. To any point, north or south, there will be a different altitude. And to any point, east or west, there will be a different time. He said it's very simple. So that's Betty doing his... So I reply, I say, are your two numbers an angle and a time? And do you presume those numbers are the dimensions for your geometric surface? To which Betty replies, my two numbers are an angle and a time. I do not presume those numbers are the dimensions for any surface. My claim is that to each latitude and longitude coordinate, they're the two numbers, the latitude and longitude, that Betty doesn't presume are any dimensions for any surface. Strange that, isn't it? Direct question. Do you disagree? Yes or no? Now, I went over this. So this is one of the things. It's when it's a fallacy type thing where they ask a yes or no question to something that requires more than a yes or no answer.
Yes. Typical method. Yes.
Yeah. It's a trick that is used, and Betty's doing it here. But I think he's fallen into a bit of a problem because I'm pretty sure that I've heard people using latitude and longitude as the two dimensions, a proof of the two-dimensional part of their model. But as Betty says, those two dimensions are actually an angle and time. And I'm not aware of time being one of the dimensions. So Betty at least admits that latitude and longitude are not dimensions of anything. Which is good for Betty.
So if they are not dimensions, it means that you are not going to measure distance with these lines.
Exactly, that's what Betty's saying, I think. That's what he's letting everybody know. That they're not really. I mean, if one of them's time, it can't be a dimension, can it? You can't have time as one of your dimensions within your two-dimensional coordinate system.
As far as I know, if you are trying to make proportion between time and distance, you will have speed.
Yeah.
So that's...
But what about if you were doing it between that and an angle? Do you reckon there's anything to, like an angle and time? Do you reckon, what do you reckon that would be?
Angle, if we have a full circle of the sun, for example, for 24 hours, we can just make a section of this circle. But still, if we don't know radius, we don't know the distance. We just know that, yes, we just know angle. So angular distance only. We are measuring angular distance to obtain our angular distance. So that's it. So basically angle.
It's just an angle, isn't it? Over time.
Yes.
A varying angle over time.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Brilliant. So there you go. Thanks to Beddy, the globe logician, we found out, as Beddy does, because I think he's got a sextant. I think that's when we first came in.
Hang on. Sorry, I'm really sorry, Bev.
What?
Has he come with any proof yet?
What?
Has Betty come with any proof yet? Because you just called him a globe logician, but he is the proofless globe logician.
Well, he's brought us this latitude and
This is
longitude.
not proof.
Well, it is. He's telling us how they measure it, and one of them is time. Did you know that?
Yeah, but I still think he's proofless. This is not proof to me.
Well, it's proof that latitude and longitude cannot be one of the dimensions, right? That cannot be a two-dimensional coordinate system, because one of the dimensions is time, and that can't be a dimension.
And it is curved because circle is sun is making circle.
Well, you're measuring angles.
Yes, so it has to be circle because we measure a section of a circle and we call it angle.
Yeah.
But still, it is not dimension.
No, it's an angle. Neither of them, right? Neither time nor angle are dimensions. So thank you, Beddy. We all know what dimensions are. They're like straight lines. Time, I don't know. Somebody say time's a straight line. I think there's some people that
on the graph, yes, you can depict it as a straight line and put numbers of hours or days or whatever.
Yeah, Minkowski. They depict the three dimensions as one straight line, and then they oppose that with another straight line perpendicular to it that they call time. That's in the fictional 4 dimension. That's how they do it. They put it on a 2D graph and put all 3 dimensions on one axis, and they have the perpendicular axis labeled time. Very clever trick again.
Yes, it is trick because in fact this is one dimension, and this is the way how you measure speed. You have one line in one direction and timeline at the same direction, and you are just measuring distance, how it is related to time. So you have 2 parallel lines. So for me, this is how it is measured. These lines should be parallel. If you are measuring distance in one direction and time, these lines should be parallel.
Right, what do you reckon to this? Somebody in the chat. Fattish fist. Whenever I hear that, I imagine Fight the Flat Earth. And he's the one where he used a stunt hand double to do the beginning of his thing. It says, map projections are sets of mathematical models which transform planar coordinates, x and y, to spherical coordinates, such as latitude and longitude. Do you reckon to that?
Yes, but still...
why do they transform anything? And how can you? You can't transform a planar surface on a map to spherical because it's
you can with maths, but not in reality.
No, you
Not
can't.
in reality, you can't. Nope.
You can't take the plane and transform it to a sphere.
In your mind,
It's
you
not
can.
possible. Yeah, but
Yes,
they're
but
talking
if you
about
are doing-
maps. That
Yes,
maps
but-
are real. They're not in your mind.
Yes, you cannot do that because you will distort land or distances. So this map will be crap. You cannot do that. And even on a flat map of, let's say, flat Earth, this azimuthal equidistant map or projection, it doesn't work anyway, because you have one line straight being radius from north star, and the second, your pseudo dimension would be the circle. So you cannot transform this into like dimensions like squares. It is impossible. Even on flat map projection, not only globe.
Well, the truth is, right, that you can't start off with the plane and transform it to a sphere because it won't fit. And you can't measure spherical and then put it on a 2D surface either.
Yes, of course.
It's not possible to do it either way. The only thing that's possible is to measure the land as it is and document it on a 2-dimensional plane. A map. Then you can put a scale to it and you're fine. And there's no problem. Any talk of transformations from one to the other is not possible at all. The very existence of scale maps shows that this procedure, one way or the other, is not happening. It's not possible. Cannot be done mathematically. Impossible. Simple. So there's no need for anybody to parrot any paralogisms saying that anybody transforms one to the other. It's impossible. You can't. So that, I think that's what Betty's helped us out with here. To show that at best, the angle measurement and time difference is not part, and it cannot and should not be mistaken for a 2-dimensional coordinate system. Just isn't. Would everyone be all right with that statement? I don't want to be speaking for anybody else.
Yes, this is not what we consider as dimensions or dimensions. So yes, it doesn't fit anyway on the globe and even on flat Earth map also, because you have no perpendicularity and no straight. At least one of the lines is not straight. So impossible.
Right, so when Betty says, he says, my claim is that each latitude and longitude coordinate, there corresponds a unique point on the surface of the Earth. Which sort of backwards, let me unwrap this, is that he's sort of saying you can go to any place you want and measure an angle to the sun and check the time difference to Greenwich. That's what he's saying. And I would have to agree with him. Yes, you can do that. Right? So if you're saying an angle and time corresponds to the place where you take the angle and the time, then, yeah, obviously, yeah, that's what you're saying. You're saying you can go to a place, measure an angle, check a time, and therefore we know that that place you were at, there is a place where you can measure an angle and check a time. He's brilliant. He's a genius, isn't he? I mean, I don't know what we waited this long for.
Yes, but still, I don't like it that he's naming that lines coordinate lines. No, they are not coordinate lines like dimensional lines. So they are maybe coordinating something, but not Euclidean space. They are not coordinating Euclidean space.
He just calls them latitude and longitude, and then he says it corresponds to a unique point. He hasn't mentioned line, because as we know, I think line depicts a straight. And he may have noticed the problem that you have is, according to them, the intersection of these two lines are perpendicular, which is a bit weird. That's why I don't think he's mentioned lines. He's gone to the point because he has a perpendicularity problem. He spotted it. Not many other people have spotted that yet because he doesn't want to bring it out, but that's why he didn't mention lines and he's going to a point. Thanks, Betty. Maybe we'll go over that at some other point. The perpendicularity of latitude and longitude, which would seem to make them straight. There's a shocker. Geometry is wonderful. The already known geometric facts. I think the idea of a misologist, that's somebody who doesn't like logic, finding out a geometric fact, perpendicularity, sends people to say really strange things. I believe that's what happened to Bob. I think Bob came up against the perpendicularity of latitude and longitude. The ECV hit so hard that he started saying that there was a shorter than a straight line distance. And that's all based around the perpendicularity of these. I'm being serious here as well. There's a riddle wrapped up in this that's so hard to unwrap that it might take quite a while for us to understand exactly what's going on with latitude and longitude. No doubt the conversation should start, but I mean, there's not many people watching. There might only be just us few. Let's see what a stir we can make about it. Notice there's none of the boys in tonight. Hate watching, because this one's a biggie. They should be coming and telling us how they know that we're wrong and let us know, but Betty's let you into the little trick. It's just an angle and a time, and therefore cannot be a two-dimensional coordinate system. But you can go to each point and measure an angle and check a time. That is possible. So people may have been sold a bit too much. You can only measure the land with linear distances. the water has currents and there's no way for you to know. Same as in the air. So the land definitely can be measured. As can depth of water and stuff like that, vertical. That can be measured.
Yes, by using solid objects like rulers. So
Yep.
to measure distance from point in the air to different point in the air, you need solid object to measure.
Yeah, you can't do it in the air or on water. But you can measure the land. That's why we have elevation changes. That's why we have triangulation points across the land. That's why we measure shortest horizontal distances, call it level. These guys know it. We measure those points. We plot them on things called maps. You may have seen a few of them. They put a scale in the bottom corner to let you know how you can use the measure. You can use a measuring rule to judge how much distance there is on the map because of the scaling factor. We had a conversation with Blue Marble Science this morning about scale. I'm not so sure he understands it, but he's giving it a good go. I think the Blue Marble Science / geometry team are hard at work at the minute, trying to work out what Blue was talking about this morning. We've had a few good conversations about it. It's a little bit too deep. Blue's paralogisms go really deep. And I don't want to go over it too much. I want to... I'd rather have a conversation with Blue and his team, the cursed with a high IQ. And there's a new guy, Frank. If you want to pop in, Frank. Maybe we could go over Blue's misunderstandings about scaling and stuff. Although he's got scale rulers, he doesn't seem to understand the linear relationship in it. So, anybody got anything else? I do have some fallacies to go over that I think, a few of them might be helpful for us to go over, but we're going to get into names of certain types of fallacies, but maybe. Got there's a few of them, but I don't know how to explain these, but maybe we'll go over a couple of them that are new, but I don't know. I'll give you this one, right? This one is called a priorism. And it comes from a priori. And it says, normally we allow facts to be the test of our principles. When we see what the facts are, we can retain or modify our principles. To start out with principles from the first, a priori, and to use them as the basis for accepting or rejecting facts is to do it the wrong way round. It is to commit the fallacy of a priorism. And the example of this is we don't need to look through the telescope, Mr. Galileo. We know that there cannot be more than 7 heavenly bodies, he says, as a this was a short-sighted view. The relationship between facts and principles is a complicated one. We need some kind of principle, otherwise nothing presents itself as a fact in the first place. The fallacy consists of giving too much primacy to principles and in not permitting them to be modified by what we observe. It makes an unwarranted presumption in favour of a theory unsupported by the evidence, and therefore rejects evidence relevant to the case. I think this one came to me because this is what these guys that we talk to, this is what they do. They start off with their assumption. Yeah, the model is always there at the beginning, and they fit everything to the model.
Yeah, so this model is a priori. So I think that it was Einstein who said that if facts are disagreeing with theory, it's the rest for the facts.
Yes.
So so this is that kind of thinking. So yes, model, and this model is reality. Then if some facts don't fit this model, they have to be rejected.
Yeah, it's the facts that are wrong.
Yes, facts are wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you see the observed fact right now, it's strange that you say that, because this is what it says next. It says a prioristic reasoning is widely used by those whose beliefs have very little to do with reality anyway. The fallacy is the short brush which sweeps untidy facts under a carpet of preconceptions. It is a necessary household appliance for those determined to keep their mental rooms clean of the dust of the real world. Engraved on the handle and on the mind of the user is the legend, "My mind's made up. Don't confuse me with facts." What do you reckon to that?
That would be Brenda, for example.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
Yeah, and Beddy with his starting with the level is horizontal within his logical formula. Like, he put that there at the beginning. The facts of whatever he developed within his thing, he presumed, well, yeah, so it goes on about that, right? So the idea that the a prioristic means the a priori is what is established. If you start off with what is established, then anything that comes up that goes against your a priori can be dismissed, which is exactly the not logic. It's a backwards way around of thinking.
Depends on what the a priori is, though, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Because in their minds, we know what the a priori is, don't we?
Yeah. You ready for this next one as well? You might have heard of this one. This one's called Blinding with Science. And it says, science enjoys an enormous prestige because it has got so many things right. Do you like the way they write that? Science enjoys an enormous prestige because it has got so many things right. What is science? A thing that gets things right, or the acquisition of knowledge? The method used to require knowledge. So it is right. Science.
Or should be.
Yeah.
It is assumed that science should be right and correct and true.
But it is, isn't it?
In fact, yes.
It-
Until you redefine science.
Yes, in the redefinition of science, which is what we're about to hear. Even this guy that's talking about fallacies has made a little bit of a fallacy of changing what science is. He's building science up now as it's built up of an enormous prestige because it has got so many things right. In the popular imagination, the dedicated scientist in his white coat is a fount of real knowledge. See, that's what I mean. The scientist has been built up as that knowledge. That white coat, the idea of the scientist now becomes the knowledge, not the science being the knowledge and how to acquire it. It says, the fact that he is using that knowledge to make Frankenstein monsters scarcely diminishes the respect for his pronouncements. Many people, anxious to invest their own views with the authority of the scientist, don the white coat of scientific jargon in an attempt to pass off their own assertions as something they are not. Fallacy of blinding with science specializes in the use of technical jargon to deceive the audience into supposing that utterances of a scientific nature are being made and that objective experimental evidence supports them. I'd say that blinding with science goes a little bit further than that, or it's been changed a little bit within the arena that we're in, and within this arena it goes, you deny science, I'm a science, and you deny it.
Yes, and if someone wrote some paper in popular scientific periodic, so it means that it has to be scientific. So this is appealing to some kind of authority and yes, just scientism. So we have to believe this guy because he has to be smarter than normal average people. So
Yeah.
he's right.
Yeah, they've took the science and the knowledge that is gained from science, and they've put it into a person. Then anybody can don that scientific, they can jump in that science person and say, I am now knowledge. That's me. And it's expressed in this. It says, the white coat technical jargon is so dazzlingly clean, never have been tainted by any real scientific work, that it blinds the audience to the true merits of what is being said. Instead of evaluating contentions on the basis of the evidence marshalled for and against them, the audience recoils from the brilliance of the jargon. The fallacy is committed because this irrelevant material has no place in the argument. Just as loaded words try to prejudice a case emotionally, so does pseudo-scientific jargon try to induce an unearned respect for what is said. The proposition is the same whenever the language and the use of language is to make its acceptance easier is fallacious. Although blinding with science can be used in any argument. See, this book that we have here, it explains the arguments, the fallacies, but then it explains how they can be used, which is, I don't know, it's not a book for these guys. If they were to get their hands on this, in fact, they probably already have. They're probably already using these tactics and have been using these tactics for a long time. It's up to us as logicians to point out these fallacies and hopefully show people, then they might be able to get a grip of them themselves. Pretty sure everybody understands these type of things, although this goes into it a little bit deeper. It says, although blinding science can be used in any argument, many will recognize the special domain of this fallacy as the subjects which like to consider themselves as scientists but are not. Science deals with things from atoms to stars at a level where individual differences do not matter. The science talks of all rolling bodies or whatever and formulates general laws to test by experiment. The trouble with human beings is that unlike rolling bodies, the individual differences do matter. Often, again, unlike rolling bodies, they want to do different things. Although this might prevent us from being scientific about human beings, it does not stop us pretending to be so. What we do here is to add the word science, in bunny ears, onto the study, giving us economic science, bunny ears, and political science, bunny ears, and social science, bunny ears. Then we dress them into that white coat of scientific language and hope that no one will notice the difference. Could I have added blue marble science in there? I guess. Bunny ears. Frantic bunny ears. The first rule for using this fallacy is to remember to use long words. Yeah, I think we've been called for that. Might say not long words, new words, reclaimed words that we use. Paralogism. Elenchus. That. It says, when the pie was open, the birds commenced to sing. Never use a 4-letter word, especially if you can think of a 24-letter word to take its place. The jargon itself is harder to master, but subscription to New Society is a good investment. Remember, the basic function of words is to prevent communication. Their real task is to transform what is banal, trivial, and easily refuted into something profound, impressive, and hard to deny. Listen to this. It says, the fallacy of blinding with science is well worth the time and trouble required to master it. The years of work at it will repay you not only with a doctorate in the social sciences, but with the ability to deceive an audience utterly into believing that you know what you are talking about. The years of work at it will repay you not only with a doctorate in the social sciences, but with the ability to deceive an audience utterly into believing that you know what you are talking about.
Yes, so you will be rewarded because you will become better actor. Just it.
So you wonder why people sit in chat rooms and discuss the same thing day after day after day. Circular arguments, round and around, getting nowhere. Practicing, getting better at it. New people might believe that these are the experts that you see. The only way to make
they
sure.
They are just mastering their acting skill.
Yes. Yeah, logic is the way to spot these fallacies. These guys always come up against it whenever they meet an expert. Another way to expose these bogus scientists is to head to the foundations, the advanced simplicity. They'll normally show themselves because, as we've said, any expert should be able to explain anything simply. If you go to the simple, they will normally expose themselves. A true expert would help you. A bogus guy lives in the jargon and the complication. They struggle with the simplicity.
Yes, because simplicity is easily to be understood by, for example, child even. So, and this kind of knowledge is not for everyone. Only high IQ and very intelligent in society can understand that.
There's quite a few of these. I mean, we could go over quite a few. Bogus dilemma. I think you said that a bit earlier, Paper. That was one of the ones.
But what bogus? I know what dilemma is, but bogus, why it is called bogus?
Okay, we'll read it. Quite apart from the causal use of the term to describe a difficult choice, the dilemma is also the name of an intricate argument. In a dilemma, we are told the consequences of alternate actions and told that since we must take one of the actions, we must accept one of the consequences. A Greek mother told her son, who was contemplating a career in politics, don't do it. If you tell the truth, men will hate you. And if you tell lies, the gods will hate you. Since you must either tell the truth or tell lies, you must be hated either by men or by the gods. A dilemma is a valid form of argument if the consequences described are true and there is really a straight choice between them, then one or the other of the consequences must follow. Very often, however, the information given is incorrect and the choice is not as limited as is made out. In these cases, the dilemma is bogus.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
that would be a false dichotomy in dilemma. So
yeah. Yeah, he says, in the above example, the son has several possible replies. He can claim that the dilemma is bogus by denying that the consequences follow. This is called grasping the dilemma by the horns. He can simply deny that men will hate him if he tells the truth. On the contrary, he might claim they would respect him for it. The alternative statements about consequences are called the conjuncts, and it is enough to show that one or both is false to label this dilemma as bogus. As another option, he might show that the choice is false. This is called going between the horns and consists of showing that other choices are possible. Instead of limiting himself to truth or lies, he might be truthful at some times, deceitful at others. He might make statements which contain elements of both truth and falsehood. The dilemma is shown to be bogus if the choice, which is called the disjunct, is not an exhaustive one. A third way of dealing with the dilemma is to rebut it. This is an elegant technique which requires an equally ferocious beast to be fabricated out of the same elements as the original one, but sent charging in the opposite direction to meet it head on. In the above example, the youth replied, I shall do it, mother, for if I tell lies, men will love me for it, and if I tell truth, the gods will love me. Since I must tell truth or lies, I shall be beloved of men or gods. This is pretty when one sees what is done in debate. This is an urge to throw money into the ring. It's swapping it round. I like that. That's good.
Yes, so this is like reverse of argument.
Yeah. But you've got to spot the false dilemma there in the first place to be able to just reversal it.
Yes, of course.
He says here, Protagoras, who taught law, amongst other things, dealt with the poor student by agreeing to waive the fee until the man had won his first case. As time went by, and there was no sign of the youth taking on a case, Protagoras sued him. The prosecution was simple. If the court decides for me, it says he must pay. If it decides for him, he wins his first case and therefore must pay me. Since it must decide for me or him, I must receive the money. The youth had been a good student, however, and presented the following defence. On the contrary, if the court decides for me, it says I need not pay. If it decides for Protagoras, then I have still not won my first case and need not pay. Since it must decide for me or him, either way, I need not pay. The judge had a nervous breakdown and adjourned the case indefinitely, thereby proved the disjuncts false and escaped between the horns of both dilemmas.
That's very well known.
Yeah.
Case. Yes. Funny though.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few of these little fallacies within this. This is another one that I think Beddy sort of did a bit earlier on. This one's called the complex question. It says Latin name, which it translates as of many questions, is otherwise known as the fallacy of complex question. When several questions are combined into one in such a way that a yes or no answer is required, the person they are asked of has no chance to give separate replies to each, and the fallacy of the complex question is committed. You may know this. Yes. Yeah, go on.
This is called malfunction question, and because mainly because it has many assumptions. For example, did you stop to beat your wife?
Yeah, that's the first one. Yes. Have you stopped beating your wife?
So yes. So the problem is, for example, if you have no wife, so this is first assumption that you have wife. The second assumption is that you started to beat your wife, because if you didn't start to beat your wife, it means that you cannot stop. So if you say that you didn't stop to beat your wife, it would mean that you are beating your wife or you never beat your wife. So, but of course, most people will take that answer that you didn't stop to beat your wife, that you are still beating your wife. So you are accusing yourself. So this is one of the lawyer's tricks in court, I think.
Yeah, this is the one that most people go to. And that's the thing. It says, if yes, you admit you were. If no, then you still are. You're trapped either way. There's a longer answer needed.
Yes.
It says, this may seem like an old joke, but there are modern versions. Did the pollution you caused increase or decrease your profits? Did your misleading claims result in you getting promoted? And is your stupidity inborn? It says all of them contain an assumption that is in that the concealed question has already been answered affirmatively. It is this unjustified pre-assumption which constitutes the fallacy. Many questions may be asked But if the answer to some is assumed before it is given, this fallacy has been committed.
Yes, yes, yes. That's why you have to affirm pre-assumptions to give any answer, any answer. So it doesn't matter what you respond. You are just assuming pre-assumptions, and that's the goal of asking that kind of questions. So this is just pure dishonesty, of course.
Yeah, it says the common version of the fallacy asks questions beginning with who or why about facts which have not been established. Even oldies such as who was the lady I saw you with last night and why did the chicken cross the road are, strictly speaking, examples of this fallacy. They preclude answers such as there was none or it didn't, because the assumption's already been made. It says the inhabitants of the world of the plurium are a puzzled lot. They can never understand why we tolerate television reporters who echo anti-patriotic propaganda, how we can curb drug abuse in our schools, or why it is that so many unemployable people are produced by our universities and colleges. The advertisers of that world want to know whether our families are worth the extra care that their product brings, and if we are glad we choose their brand of shampoo. In the real world, none of these questions would be regarded as valid until the facts they depend on have been established. The complex question has to be broken into simpler ones, and often the denial of the fact presumed invalidates the larger question altogether. A variety of complicated genetic or evolutionary explanations could be advanced to explain why the adult human female has far more teeth than the adult male. None of them would be as effective as counting along a few jaws and denying the fact. I don't want to go into these too many, but it's quite obvious. There's a full book of these. The amount of different ways there are to confuse people within argumentation, the use of words, trickery is unfounded, and knowing them all is going to be well, I don't think you can you? I don't think the idea of knowing all of these fallacies, but the little tricks, I've seen them. Well, we've seen a lot of these fallacies. I have, within conversations that you try and have with people. Most of the time, I'm not so sure whether they know that people are using them.
Yes, they are, but they are not strictly logical fallacies. They are just maybe fallacies as sophist tactics.
Yes.
So they are very, very let's say, popular amongst sophists. So this is just their weapon. To how to fight with audience or opponent or whatever. So, but logical fallacies are more simple. They are just like petitio principii or begging the question or non sequitur. These are very strict and I think clear. Logical fallacies.
Yeah, I will try and put a thing together as to the most popular fallacies, and we'll try and get when we do get conversations, maybe we go over a few videos or whatever. I would like it if people can try and spot out these fallacies Whenever something doesn't sound right, point it out and let us try and point out where the fallacy is within the statement or whatever. Even if it's me saying these things, I would like it if people can try and spot these fallacies. I don't want to be saying anything, but I know that sometimes you can, without knowing, drop into these fallacious thinking. And sometimes you do need a bit of a prod in the right direction again.
Yes, sometimes you cannot spot that you are committing some fallacy. It's like, for example, orthographic errors. If back in the day when I was young, so I committed many orthographic errors, and I just couldn't see them. And after a few days, when I read again what I wrote, I was able to spot them. Oh, what this here, there, orthographic errors. But while writing, I didn't notice that I am making orthographic errors. So sometimes, yes, it is good that someone else can hear or see these errors better, especially on the fly, because people are not so good in self-awareness about their errors. Other people are better from the side. It is not pleasant, but I think that it is good to have someone to hear what you are talking and to spot some fallacies, for example. Yes, it's not pleasant that if someone spotted your fallacy, but in learning it is necessary. So yes, conversation is good for that.
Notice we've got a new guy, Frank Bagnell, is it? In the chat. Seems to be. We do have these strange people. They're talking about the spirit level. Look, he says there. How does the spirit level work, Mike? This is basic.
So this is basic. And what does it mean? This is basic.
Again, there he asks, how does it work, Mike? And then Mike says, by establishing horizontal. How does field work? And then Frank says...
So you definitely don't want to ask Frank what a water level is.
He says
Maybe
Mike doesn't
that's
know
the
how
question
it works.
Frank should be asking.
Yeah, he says Mike doesn't know how it works, but Mike had just put that it establishes horizontal. And then Frank says, that is what you think, does it, Mike? Not how it works. So I guess you really don't know. And then...
Maybe Frank thinks that there's some sort of gravity working on the little air bubble inside of a water level.
Well, Mike says, we all know that levels work by establishing horizontal. Frank says, thanks, Mike, for letting me know that you don't know how a spirit level works. Sad, I expected at least you would have basic knowledge. And
I think we've already given too much time to the troll comment.
What, you mean Frank, a Bagnell? He's
Frank doesn't have a fuck
to
clue.
tell Mike that Mike doesn't know what a spirit level is or how a spirit level works.
Yeah, that's how these trolls like to operate on the internet. They think they're creating a good conversation, but they're not. Actually, they don't even think that. They're just trying to stir up shit.
He's gone. He's just
Yeah,
said no,
gone.
no,
Yeah.
and then disappeared.
I mean, I'm not even watching. I'm just listening, right? And that's
Yeah,
sorry.
I think that he is just searching for weak points and then to build a straw man and then to have easy ground to discuss with, for example, with ignorance of the opponent. So this is one of the tactics and has nothing to do with proving or disproving anything. Because if he was to prove something with that spirit level, he should explain how the spirit level works, and then he can prove something or disprove something with that, and not just asking questions and looking gaps in opponents, let's say, defense. So this is just I experienced that many times.
Yeah,
This is just
you can spot the trolls too.
yes, this is normal trolls tactic to find a weak point, whatever it is, and then build strawman on that. So that's it.
But stating that somebody doesn't know how a spirit level works, and then disappearing, is a typical tactic of a non-argument. No argument. It's got nothing.
Yeah, so he is claiming victory that the opponent is for him seemingly ignorant. Then what? Nothing, just to prove his superiority, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, leaving everybody ignorant of what he imagined was his win.
Yes, but maybe this was his goal. I don't know. But
Yeah.
many trolls have that goal. Yes, that's it. They are glad, and they are going offline because they did their job. Job well done. I am happy because I proved that I am superior. Great.
Like part of the peanut gallery.
Yeah. Yes. Similarly.
Yeah, sorry, John. See you later, John. Missed that then. I don't want to go over the Blue. Blue came round this morning and I've learned a lot. And we did have a really good conversation. But something tells me we shouldn't be going over it live. Much more can be gained out of that not live in the Discord. And it was based around the perpendicular relationship of vertical and horizontal, but not in the usual formulation. Yeah, I don't know what Frank was doing in here. He's coming in to help Blue Marble, I think, because Blue Marble was struggling this morning. Although he got a perceived win, he was strutting around like he'd done some fantastic stuff. I bet he was giggling away to himself. But I think Blue not being here tonight and disappearing very early after this chat we had this morning, and the fact that Frank's come in to back him up afterwards, I think it goes to show that stage 4 might be moving into stage 5. We might have to go over RBD face next week. Over a couple of days. Should be interesting. Does anybody want to go over anything? Any more fallacious stuff? I haven't really got much else to go over. The stuff that we went over this morning with Blue Marble and his team of Blue Marble scientists has me stunned. And I think I'd like to go over it with everybody in the Discord as to what exactly happened this morning to catch everybody up, but I don't want to be doing it live. So I might just end this short tonight and go into the Discord and do an after show with the we'll go over the Blue Marble science scale problem, because I have learned a lot. So if you would like to come in and get a grip, we are going to be ending this a little bit early tonight. We'll have a bit of a team talk, on the level team talk, just for members and stuff. So pop on in. Anybody got any final words to go over for tonight? If not, come on then to the Discord and we'll I'll go over what I've learned this morning with Blue Marble Science. We've already done it a couple of times, but I'd be willing to go over it with everybody else. Wisdom. Okay. I'm going to leave Puss to singing and jump in the Discord. Come on in. See you tomorrow. Euclid night tomorrow. Maybe we might follow on from what we're going to get in here tomorrow. We'll see. See you tomorrow.
It is probably the single most important mathematical idea of all. The notion of proof by circle and line or ruler and compass construction means that geometry can be known about in a way that is different from knowing about physical things, and so makes geometry epistemically differentiated. Furthermore, starting from circles and lines alone and constructing a relationship using circles and lines alone makes the conclusions certain in a way that nothing else was at the time. In geometric reasoning, the argument and the conclusions were made supremely clear and evident to the senses. Indeed, the concept of proof, a mechanism that gave a warrant for claiming geometry to be perfectly and absolutely true, made geometry the very paradigm of what we mean true and certain knowledge to be. In effect, in our understanding of nature, true means true like geometry is true.
Come go with me. Open your mind. Was all I ever knew. Finding the knowledge of the real world starts with the point of which has no parts. These are the axioms of life.
True.
And I'll take my chances with the old ways, finding the proofs in geometry. And I don't care what all the sophists say, I find the proofs in reality. 'Cause they were right.
We call this
We know that they were right.
true. We call this proof, like geometry is true.
Starting with circles and lines alone, constructing the nature of what's known.
We call this proof.
Conclusions are clear and the evidence seen. This 3D space works perfectly. And I'll take my chances with the old ways, finding the proofs in geometry. And I don't care what all the sophists say, I'll find the proofs in reality.
Like geometry is true. Perfect. Absolutely.
And all around you is sinking sand. You have a place on which to stand. Foundations were already built for you.
Absolutely true.
Open your mind, and I'll take my chances with the older ways. Hearing the words of what the ancients said. They say my words sound like sorcery, but there's wisdom in all honesty.
True.
Come go with me. Open your mind. Come go with me. We'll find the truth.
Absolutely true.